Hello, everyone. It says that I'm live, so I think you can see me. There are some people here already, it looks like, so if you can hear me and see me, let me know in the chat. That would be greatly appreciated. So we're going to wait here maybe a minute or two just to let other people trickle in. We had a good amount of registrants for today, so I want to make sure everyone can get seated and get ready before we get started. Hello, Diana or Deanna, however you pronounce it. Nice to meet you. Yeah, and go ahead and tell us where you're calling in from. That's always fun to see, kind of across the United States and across the globe, where people are calling from. Portugal, amazing. So in just a few seconds, I'll be inviting my coworker, my friend, my colleague Samantha up to join me in this office hours. But I just wanted to wait for a few more people to trickle in. Hello from Mexico City. Thank you for coming. Some awesome representation from around the globe. So I'm going to go ahead and invite my colleague Samantha to join me up here. Should take a few seconds. So yeah, if you missed my request, tell us where you're calling in from. I'm personally calling in from the San Francisco Bay Area. And hello, Samantha. I see you've joined.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Hello, and hi everyone that is calling in. Joe, I know that you mentioned where we're logging in from.
Yes, please do.
I'm currently based in LA during this shelter-in-place order, but super excited to connect with everybody today.
Awesome. Yeah, I am currently in San Francisco. Our office is typically in San Francisco. Well, it still is physically, but we are all working remotely. So I am in the East Bay area where I'm originally from. Looks like we have some folks from the East Coast, Virginia, DC. So cool. Awesome. Well, so we've waited a few minutes now, so we can go ahead and get started, and we'll let more folks trickle in as it continues. But first and foremost, just thank you so much for joining. These office hours that we've started is such a cool way to continue connecting with our customers and anyone interested in front just around a specific topic, in this case, customer success. But it also is a great way to learn a thing or two, share best practices, and just stay connected with the community out there. So thank you for coming. Today's format is going to be a question and answer. We had some awesome questions come in on the Slido link that was sent out a few days ago. So we'll go through those questions and Samantha will be the one handling those. And some housekeeping things before we introduce ourselves is this will be recorded and we will send it out right after. So if you'd like to share it with your team or rewatch it, you'll definitely have the ability to do that. If you have any questions throughout the process, please go ahead and put them directly in the chat window. You can go to the question section if you want, but I'll take them from either. I'm not going to be a stickler about where they're asked. Chat or questions will both be answered.
I'll take it.
So for the question, we have a on the Slido. You'll notice they're in order, but we've actually organized them into groups because some of them are like really nicely grouped with others, whether they're about product or career advice or best practices overall. So we put them into groups just to make the conversation kind of make even more sense. But if you have questions throughout, please raise your hand, let us know, and we'll make sure that we take those. So that was a lot of talking. I'll introduce myself, then I'll let Samantha introduce herself. My name is Joe, and I am in customer marketing here at Front. I've been here for almost 3 years, and I absolutely love it. And this is one of my favorite things that I get to do in this role is meet you all and share best practices. So Samantha, who I've worked with for my entire time at Front, we started not too far apart from one another. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Sam Wong. Everybody calls me Sam, and I've been at Front for roughly 3.5 years now, and I've definitely seen the company grow during my tenure at Front. Something that has always been a passion of mine is customer success. And during my entire tenure, I've dove very, very deep into what success means at Front and really understanding from our collaborators and other additional thought leaders in the industry on how we can continue to build out our success department. So I'm super excited to share a little bit more on what success is like at Front, and feel free again to jot down any questions or comments or feedback into the chat or question section. We'll take it.
Yeah. And one last little tidbit. I know this isn't on my agenda, but before moving over into my current role in customer marketing, I actually was in customer success.
Yes.
So this topic is particularly, it's close to my heart. Me and Sam used to be on the same team. So excited to do this for you all today. And customer success doesn't just mean customer success. It can mean account management, client success, client services. There's so many different terms for customer success these days. So I am excited to hopefully be relevant to all of those fields. Ryan already asked, can we post the Slido link? You are a great segue giver, Ryan, because I'm about to do that right now. And I'll also post it in the chat so anyone can add any additional questions. So just give me 1 minute here. I'm going to post it in the chat. There's the Slido link, but I'll also be sharing my screen, and that's where we'll kind of take those questions and Sam will address them there. So let me stop sharing my amazing introduction, welcome to office hours screen, and share something else. Okay. This is only my second time using this webinar software, so please bear with me. I hope I'm doing okay.
We're figuring it out.
Okay, I believe it's this one. Great. All right, can we see the Slido questions in front of us now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, amazing. So as mentioned before, for those who missed it, we grouped the questions that were already asked into kind of categories that made sense to go with one another. So we'll take them in that order. And if you have any questions throughout, please raise your hand and let us know. This will probably be about 25 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up for any last-minute question and answers at the end. All right, so the first question, Sam, Samantha, Sam, however you want to be called. We decided that the first question will be, what is your favorite Front feature? And this is under the category of Front and customer success. So go ahead and tell us what your favorite Front feature is.
My favorite, this is actually I like so many, but this is so easy for me because I love our shared drafts. And for those of you guys that aren't aware what the shared draft capability in Front is, essentially you're turning an email into almost a Google Doc, if you will. And I love the ability to be able to have another set of eyes on the emails that I send to clients or I send to executives. At the same time, whenever we actually have a new CSM or new onboarding manager or a new account manager that is onboarding at Front, this is actually a critical step in making sure that their emails are striking the right tone with our customers. We're providing accurate information back as well. So it just allows for us to work very, very dynamically. One thing that has held true, I would say I probably send at minimum 3 drafts every single day. And when I was a CSM at Front, I probably sent even more, especially if you have a model in customer success where you're partnering with an account manager or you're partnering with an account executive that's really handling kind of the sales conversations in itself. It's always great to kind of balance what you're sending out to your customers, and we're able to kind of do it seamlessly. Before I came to Front, it was a matter of forwarding that message to a colleague. Then they reply back, then I copy and paste it, and then I post it into the conversation with the customer. So that saved so much time. I love that feature. Use it all the time.
I completely echo and piggyback that statement. One of my favorite things about being able to share drafts is not only having the continuity across the messaging and the tone that we're sending out there, but also being able to still give your own personality to the messages that you're sending out. So it strikes a great balance between those two. Okay. I think we had a question come in. Let me make sure it's not mission critical. We love this feature. Thank you, Tiffany. That is amazing to hear. We appreciate that. Okay, so next question. under still the umbrella of general front customer success stories is, how do you keep relationships personal as you scale and add customers?
Yes, this is, in my opinion, truly the heart of what Front does. We really want to help make sure that we're scaling your communications, but not losing that element of personalization. We actually have these questions on with our customers all the time. And I think there are a couple things here in Front that actually empower you to keep that personalization. And the first thing is a team inbox. Very often when there is a new customer coming to Front, they may be a little apprehensive to using the concept of a team inbox because it might look like it's coming from success at, or onboarding at, or accounts at, whatever it may be. What people don't realize is when you reply back to your customers, there's several elements of personalization on there. Number one, you can reply from a personal email address. So even if a customer writes into customer success, I can reply with Samantha@funapp.com. So people are attributing me as a person in that reply back. The best part about this is the entire team still has full visibility into what you're actually responding back to the customer with. So customer conversations are transparent conversations, and they're shared with the broader, we call it post-sales or customer success team. That really makes sure that you're not creating any walls or silos in the way that you're working. And if you're not aware already, you also can personalize your signature. So you don't have to sign from the general customer success team. You can always have a very personalized signature back to your clients. So just in summary here, just because it's team inbox doesn't mean that you can't reply from your personal email. You can also make sure that there's personalized signature there as well. And we're still creating full visibility across all conversations that are customer related.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the ability to collaborate on messages but still keep it personal is such a value out of Front, and we use it all the time.
Wow.
Amazing. Cool. So the next question is, let's see here. What integrations does your team use? And really quickly, I think we had a question come in. So let's make sure that it's not related to the previous question. Okay, so I think we'll come back to that one and stick with the integrations one. Shauna, we'll get back to you in just a second. So Pam, go ahead and take it away with any integrations that your team uses.
Yes, I actually saw that there were several questions in regards to integrations as well, all with kind of a slightly different flavor too. So I'm going to answer this question on like, what integrations do we use very often? We actually have a lot of integrations at Front. I would say the top three favorite ones within our company is number one, the Jira integration. If you are in customer success or support or a post-sales account management team of some sort, you likely are getting feature requests. We run all of our feature requests through Jira, and we're able to actually add a Jira ticket to a conversation. And at any point in time, once we build that feature out, that conversation reopens in Front, and we can follow up with the customer like, hey, do you remember when you requested this feature? Well, guess what? Now we have it. I love that integration, super seamless, able to collaborate with the product team incredibly easily. If you haven't checked it out, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Number two is actually a custom plugin that we built. So for those that are not aware, we actually have an open API. And what we did was we used our own API to build Front to connect to our internal database. So every single company, I'm sure you kind of have your records stored in some location of some sort. We have that at Front as well. Anytime somebody emails in, chats in, we're able to see exactly what plan you're paying, whether or not you're an administrator, your access levels, any pertinent information that will help us solve the problem for our customers is something that we're able to quickly reference in that integrations panel on that right-hand side. There's a lot of customers that actually have invested in connecting Front to their internal databases. If that's something you're looking to further explore, that's something we can definitely pair you up with some of our API documentation. We use it literally all day. So I highly, highly, highly recommend exploring that as an option as well. And then the final component here is Salesforce. I would say that's probably the most common integration that comes up in our discussions with our customers. And if you're not familiar with how the Salesforce integration currently works in Front, is it allows for you to pull in any contextual information on that Salesforce record directly into that plugins pane on the right-hand side. From there, you can actually edit directly, and it will be reflected in your Salesforce records. So for instance, let's say that you're talking to a customer, you have that email, you discover a new opportunity. You can directly add that opportunity on that, we'll call it the integrations panel, and the new record will automatically show up in Salesforce. So I love the ability to be able to find that contextual information and not have to context switch and not have to switch tabs so often. It helps significantly as well. So I'd say those top three are the ones that come up a lot for us and definitely favorites within the team.
Completely agree. That's a powerful list, Sam. I think there's something very, very cool about being able to build your own custom plugin. So if we don't have an out-of-the-box integration that you currently use, and you maybe have a homegrown system, please consider doing a custom plugin because it's awesome. It's incredibly powerful. And Shauna, your question was perfect because it was another great segue into the next question that I was already going to ask. So The original question was, how does Sam's team collaborate with teams like sales and product teams in their current role? And Shauna asked, how do your account executive managers, sales, and customer success teams work cohesively? So I think it's a great question all around collaboration. So Sam, take it away.
Yes. So we kind of alluded to the integration piece a little earlier, so I'm going to leave that there. There are other elements that I think really help with cohesion. And at the end of the day, it's speaking that same language internally, right? Huge lever here is the @mentions and comments inside of the platform in itself. What a lot of people actually don't realize is you can actually @mention external people that may not have access to Front. Now, later on, if you would like to bring them onto the Front platform so they get the entire benefit, that's something you can absolutely do. But this is quite a hidden feature and a lot of people don't necessarily realize it. So if you want to have your executives lean in and they don't necessarily have a license today, I actually highly recommend do the @mention, type their email into the comments section, and they actually are brought into your Front conversation. I highly recommend it. A lot of people don't even realize. Test it out. Feel free to start it out with like a sample email so you're more familiar with it. But that's definitely an avenue that you can definitely pursue as well.
Yeah, awesome. Sean, I hope that answered your question. If you have any additional questions or follow-ups, please go ahead and paste them in there. One other question that we got to kind of round out the Front product questions that we had, and then we'll move on to some additional categories, is, are there templates in Front for building SLAs within your CS team? And I'm gonna actually step in and answer this question just quickly, and then Sam can add any that she'd like as well. We do have an SLA rule builder. It's relatively new, it's incredibly powerful. We always had the ability to build and uphold our SLAs with the Front rules engine, but we recently made a kind of separate part of the rules engine called SLA Builder. So I'm actually going to paste a link to a video that I made a few weeks ago. So go ahead and watch this in your own time. I'm not going to play it now because I don't want to watch myself on video right now. But if you want to watch this later, here's our SLA Builder and how it works. So it's just going to be on YouTube, and it should have gotten posted there.
Yes. I want to just elaborate a little bit on this SLA workflow builder. It is incredibly powerful. And for anyone that might be unfamiliar with the concept of an SLA or you don't have a formal one, that is okay. It could just even be an internal goal that you're striving for. So let's say, hey, I'm arbitrarily saying I want our team to reply back to our customers within 8 hours. That seems reasonable to me. You can start with an SLA inside of Front and see where you're actually benchmarking. Are you within 8 hours or are you far beyond it? Have somewhere to start and then continuously decrease that time as you're working on Front. So maybe in 3 months, instead of 8 hours, you're shooting for 4 hours. And as you're growing as a business, you can continue in
Right. And one last piece that's really cool about the SLA Builder now is if you have analytics on your plan, it actually automatically creates an analytics report based off of the SLA rule that you built. So if you're trying to measure against 4 hours and you really want to make sure that you're reaching those goals, a analytics report will be automatically created so you can constantly keep tabs on and track progress there. Awesome. So next question, then kind of moving on to the KPIs and operations category. Sam, how does your CSM team work in tandem with implementation?
Yes, love this question. I also lead our implementation onboarding team at Front. So you can imagine the synergy between the two teams is very real at Front. I would say there's a couple things here that are important, but I'm going to put Front aside. It's really just about the operations of how success works. Number one, our onboarding managers are in charge of the success of the implementation. So immediately after conversion, they're typically going to be the main point of contact for our customers. Now, the CSM actually is involved during the onboarding process, but they might be taking the passenger seat at that point in time. They're still in charge of the overall retention of the account. In this format, it's incredibly important to make sure that there is a clear distinction between the roles of we'll say your account team and your onboarding manager. I know that the larger the organization, the more different type of roles you may have. The smaller the organization, typically you start out with somewhat of a generalist role. So if you're in that hybrid state, I would say it's really start thinking about what are the skill sets of each of the roles, where do they shine, and where do you want to emphasize where that role takes the lead over another role. So those are a couple tips that I would highly, highly recommend, especially if you're kind of going into a more specialized model as you're growing business as well.
Yeah, awesome. So this next one is, I think it's a hot topic for not only customer success, but sales teams, even support. The question is, how and when do you present ROI?
Yep. That is a big one. Always top of mind, I think, for any CSM. And our job is always to put ourselves in our customers' shoes and truly understand where they're coming from. They want to make sure that there's value for what they're paying for. So it's really, really important that that is something you establish early on. For any new customers that you have, I highly, highly recommend taking a look at what their goals are and making sure that you're making it clear to the customer that you are achieving these goals as well. I think another element to really consider is, what does your service or your product help your customer accomplish? Is there a way that you can rally the whole company behind some type of number or metric that you can easily expose back to the customer? And in terms of the format on how often you present the ROI, if you're in customer success, you probably are familiar with the concept of executive business review or quarterly business review. I think a misconception that a lot of people have is that it needs to be something that is a super formal process where you have multiple executives at hand sitting in a conference table of some sort. That may be appropriate for some of your most strategic customers. But how about all the other customers that are within your group of accounts? It's still important for them to also see ROI. And one thing that we've adopted at Front is this concept of like a light BDR, so that we can actually present what the ROI is for our entire customer base. And if you have a CSM, I highly recommend starting those conversations as well if you haven't already. That's something that I recommend doing, and really getting your data team behind it so that you can operationalize this much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit tricky sometimes when your product or your service has so many different parts of your offering. Like with Front, it's, what is the ROI of canned responses or of some of these amazing features that are unique to Front. So giving your CSMs the ability to present that in a kind of digestible and format that makes sense to your customers is really powerful. Awesome. So the next question, which is probably one of the most common questions I hear in interviews and just in some of these best practice meetings that we go to, is very generally, how do you measure the success of a customer?
Got it. So I'm not going to do a one size fits all for this one, because every product or service is going to be very, very different. But in terms of the mechanisms that we can all adopt together, is health score is a huge one. And we're actively always thinking about what is in the underlying calculations of our health score. And what's most important is that the health score is directionally correct. I think very often when you're initially thinking about that health score, you're trying to apply it to every single customer. And then what you find yourself doing is like, well, it doesn't fit because of this, or it doesn't fit because of that. If for the majority, it fits for your customers and it's directionally correct, it's likely a good point to move forward and kind of test it out. So I really, really recommend that. There's a lot of good tools that allow for you to create health score. If you guys have looked at the Gainsight, the Tango, for those that might not have a customer success tool, this is something you can get with just the data in your system. So you can have your operations team or your data team partner with you on making sure that there's the appropriate calculation of some sort. And you can even pipe it into a BI tool if you're kind of more in a nimble state as well. So just a couple tips on that. And then I think another component here is implementation is key here. And the goals of our customers should always be captured at the beginning of when they're implementing their product, solution, whatever it may be. After that implementation phase, what we typically do is we have somewhat of an EBR process to show what you have accomplished during that implementation phase. So I highly recommend kind of exploring that as an option as well. The healthier your new customers are, the better off you're going to be later down the line as well.
Awesome. Yeah, great answer. So this next one is a big question. And before we get there, any questions, anything in the chat before we get into a very meaty subject here? Let me know. 5 seconds. Okay. So the next question is right here in order. It's what do you do to try and prevent churn? And this is obviously a big question because customers are the lifeblood. They're the reason we come into work every day. And to make sure that they're happy and successful with the tools or the services that we're offering is so incredibly important. So Sam, give us your best answer on how you try to prevent churn from happening.
Yeah, I think this question is definitely a huge topic in itself in all of customer success. So I don't want to downplay kind of this simplicity in how I kind of want to break it down because it is a complex topic in itself, and there's always nuances within the business. But hopefully this kind of provides some way to start. I think there's so many ways to prevent churn. And the first thing that needs to happen is you got to rally the entire company behind this concept of retention. At the end of the day, if you get new business and you continue building a funnel, if you have a leaky funnel, which is the churn, your business isn't growing at the end of the day. So making sure that there is an understanding at the company level of how important retention is, I would say that is going to be the first step. Now, one thing that actually happens when you start talking about this concept of churn, I like to think about it as retention more than anything. There's this overwhelming sense of, let's say, delegation or responsibility of just the success team or just the account management team that's responsible for this concept of churn. And I really want to dispel that. They are definitely an element of keeping a customer and retaining a customer. But what we have done here is anytime that there is a customer that churns, we always want to look a little deeper into it. What was the ultimate reason? It's very, very seldom that a customer will leave solely due to the motions of a CSM. Now, there's always going to be exceptions, but it's very, very seldom that is the main reason why a customer leaves. So it's important for us to take a step back. And I like to bundle it into 4 different buckets. The first one is product. It's probably very, very obvious to everyone here. Is the product able to consistently solve what our customers are trying to achieve? Is it doing what it needs to do for our customers? Number 2 is our ownership within success. Are we regularly nurturing our customers and depositing into that relationship? Some of you guys might have heard this analogy of a customer success is almost like a bank account, if you will. You can take deposits and credits. You've got to make sure that you have something there so that you can take that credit. And the deposits into the relationship are incredibly valuable. Always think about, what was the last time that I had a valuable conversation for our customer, right? What did we do for them? That's going to help you earn the right to ask sometimes more difficult questions as well. In success, we also should be identifying opportunities where our customers can get more value. Are you able to analyze their usage through our data? And then are we able to present that as an opportunity for them to get more value out of the product? And then finally, I would think about, are we connected at multiple levels within the organization, especially if they are a managed account? Think about the champion, think about the decision maker. If you are a software, think about IT that might need to be involved. And does the decision-making committee, I never think it's one ultimate decision maker, it's one person who actually signs the contract. But if you think about, if you were to ever purchase any software, it's not one person that is making that overall decision. It's a group of people that have a consensus, and then one person actually signs the contract. Does that decision-making committee understand the value of your product or service? And if it changes, because we always have champion changes, it's important for us to establish that relationship again and continue to nurture it. So that's the success component of it. There's more. I'd say sales is another component. Are we setting proper expectations in advance? Are we selling to the right customers? Is another question that I have. And it's really important to do the proper analysis of that from a company perspective. And if there's additional training that we can do for sales reps, that's something we can absolutely do. And I think a thought that I have is, I never think that a salesperson is trying to maliciously sell a deal. Oftentimes, they just don't realize. So it boils back down to training and whether or not there was clear communications in advance. And then finally, I think is the marketing piece, which sometimes is a little less obvious. And what they impact is something that we can't control from a one-to-one relationship. And it's about that brand, that positioning. Is it clear what your business solves for all customers or the potential customers that you're trying to target as well? Are we building awareness to the core value components of the product or service? Is it obvious to our customers, or do we actually need to have that one-to-one communication in order for that to happen? If you have to have that one-to-one communication, that tells me that there is further work that we can do to better the branding or the positioning and marketing of the service or the product. So I guess in summary, the way I like to think about this is churn is not something that just customer success is responsible for. It's something that is a cross-functional initiative, and we need buy-in from multiple parts of the company. And there's always different ways that we can progressively solve for it. So I hope this is helpful. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions on this. It's definitely a super meaty topic in itself.
Yeah, I think I cannot echo the statement more that it's a company initiative. It is all hands on deck when it comes to making your customer successful with whatever tool or service you're providing. So totally agree. So we're at the 35 minute mark. I have two more questions from the Slido that I wanted to call out because I think they're really valuable. But if I missed any of yours or if you have additional ones, please let us know. So this next one that I wanted to ask Sam was, what are your most impactful KPIs for CS?
Yes. I would say for us, and it's really dependent on your product or service, net retention. And your net retention number is going to be incredibly important. But understanding the underlying numbers is also a priority. So what is the renewal rate? What is the expansion rate? And what is the churn rate? That will make up your net retention number and help you focus where you actually need to put your efforts. And then the second part is health score, which we kind of talked about a little earlier. But again, directionally correct is what you're really trying to take a look at. And some elements to consider is obviously adoption in the product or service, The other, I would say, variables could be movement in dollars recently, the sentiment with the customer, or even a recency of conversation or call connection with the customer is an element that may be applicable to you and your business.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. So the last question that I want to call out here, because I think it's just great for anyone that's either currently in a leadership role in success or anyone that's thinking about transitioning to that role. What advice, Pam, would you have for first-time success leaders?
Yes. Oh my gosh. My phone is ringing. We are working remotely, and it's going to go off, but hopefully you guys can hear me.
That's okay.
Okay.
Is that a landline?
Yeah. That's embarrassing. Okay. We don't pick it up anymore, guys. Advice for first-time success leaders. I think developing your voice is very, very important. To voice your brand, your own philosophy, and that concept is always going to be maturing and evolving as you're a leader. I think it's something that I have definitely learned over my time in stepping into more of the management and leadership roles up front as well. And highly, highly recommend taking a look at what other leaders in the business are doing. Look at workshops. Like, there are so many great customer success blogs that are out there that provide really interesting perspectives and how people think about success. And it's up to you as a leader in really understanding the nuances. Like, what is that person talking about? How does it apply to their business versus how it applies to my business currently, because you know what you're dealing with the best. And then oftentimes, if you're a first-time customer success leader, just a component here, you might also be a first-time manager. And for those that are, I really just recommend taking a moment for yourself to breathe and step back. There's a new element in your role, right? Not only are you representing the voice of your team, your customers, you also need to make sure that that actually comes through to the executive leadership team, and vice versa. If the executive leadership team gives an initiative or something that we need to solve for, we need to make sure that we're eloquently and articulately communicating that back to the team to make sure it lands well, and we're all really, at the end of the day, trying to drive towards the same direction. It sounds simple, one of the most difficult things to do. And there's definitely a lot of moments where I have tried to think about, like, what is the best way to message this to their team so that they are consistently motivated. So I would say just take a moment, step back, think through it. At the end of the day, everybody's intentions are great. And we're all trying to make sure that our businesses are successful.
Yeah, I think one other piece that I would echo on this one too is customer success, even though it's a relatively young kind of function in the technology or non-technology world, maybe only been around for 15 or 20 years, it is a vital part of all businesses now. And it's obvious when you look at, you know, the meetups and the webinars and the blogs that exist out there. So just like get busy, get reading, go to those online events. We personally have seen, we have some ex-Gainsiders at our company, and they have an amazing wealth of knowledge when it comes to customer success. So go ahead and check out their website if you ever need any inspiration. But those are all the questions that I wanted to address from the Slido. I really hope this was helpful. If you have any last minute questions, Sam and I can hang on for a couple minutes. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here and taking some time to listen, to ask, and to share best practices while we're all working remotely and trying to connect from long distance. And Sam, thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm happy to. Again, I'll definitely hang on if anybody has more questions. I'm more than happy to address anything to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thanks, Dan, and we appreciate your thanks. Thanks everyone for commenting in, telling us where you're from, for joining. As mentioned, the recording will be sent out, and if it doesn't come your way for whatever reason, just go ahead and shoot me an email, and I can get it to you. It's super easy. It's joe@frontop.com. I know that's hard to remember. joe@frontop.com. So let me know. Thank you, Diana. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Diana.
All right. I think we answered all the questions, Sam. So I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. And like I said, the recording will be sent out. If you have any questions, let us know. But thank you all again. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.